once we go live again. As good as my channel. Hello and welcome to This Week in Gwent, a weekly show in which we talk everything Gwent. Hopefully we have sound. Moshcraft, can you hear me and can the people hear you?
I can hear you loud and clear.
I
Let's
can
see if
hear you
chat can hear
also.
me this time.
Question is if everybody else can hear you. Hopefully they can. Okay, it works. So yeah, there
Excellent.
was one thing that I changed in the settings that that might have pretty much made everything miserable and not working, but we're good. We're good. Thank you for your patience. Sorry for coming late, but it's only been like 7 minutes. So Moshcraft, you probably know the drill. We will go through everything that has happened within Gwent for this week, and then we will move on and talk a little bit about you, get to know you. And yeah, I have to say once again, your home office setup in the background is stellar. It's so nice. Everything's so perfect there. The colors and everything. Oh, it's just so good. So good.
I cleaned this morning.
Nice. Perfect. Well prepared. Okay, let's jump into everything happening in Gwent. So we'll start with the red news. So for red news, we had a maintenance happening this week in which we're doing some work to the servers. So we had to keep Gwent down from 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. CST. So thank you once again, everybody, for your patience. It was a much needed thing, so I'm really happy that it happened without any bigger problems. So good stuff there. We also had a article being published by Ryan Dinsdale, and he covered pretty much Gwent's 5 years. So it's been a bigger article that he was working with us. And in the article by IGN, if you go to the website and you check out the link, you will see quotes from Vlad, from Flake, from me, and from Jason Slama, so the previous game director. So highly recommend. It talks everything went from The Witcher 3, and after Witcher 3, and pretty much moves it over to everything that we did till now. It's pretty much cool and interesting. And if you ever wanted to go a little bit more in depth into our development, this is kind of the one to see. Also, this weekend we will be having the top 64 qualifiers, which will be the finals will be casted by Sealy and Zubidoo coming back once again for another qualifier. We have Zubi. It's always good to see Zubi in the casting desk, not only in the trivia related stuff. So super hyped for him. Hopefully this is a nice beginning of a esports career for our friend here. So highly encourage you to check it out. It will be on Sealy's Twitch channel, 4:30 p.m. CST. So high level stuff happening there. Check it out for sure. And that is everything for the red news. Community news. Lario got to Gwent Open number 2. He qualified through the top 16 qualifier, and he did a recap, which I highly recommend everybody to check out. It's on his own blog called Lirio Hub, so check it out for yourselves. Quite interesting to see inside the qualifiers from like a player perspective. It's always stuff that I enjoyed myself when I was following esports for any games that I was interested in. So check it out for sure and kind of learn about the lineup, but also who he faced and how that went for him. Apart from that, a new episode of The Great Dandelion Show, posted 22 hours ago. There is also a new episode of So You Think You Know The Witcher. And in this one, Vlad goes pretty high when it comes to all CDPR employees. I think he went the farthest. So recommend to check it out. Once again, kudos to Vlad for slaying it and being the Witcher trivia CDPR boss. Not only Gwent boss, but also the trivia boss. And a pretty cool Kusento YouTube video about elves, answering most things in 10.5. I think elves are pretty much pretty good in this meta right now. So anyone interested to play that deck, I think there's a couple deck lists plus highly upvoted one on the deck library. If you go there, you have actually this deck by Kusento. So yeah, check it out. Check it out. I've been actually playing like a hybrid of dwarves and elves, and for me it was pretty okay. Moshcraft, what are you playing this season right now?
Oh, lots of stuff. There's just so many new things to try, especially since the patch with Golden Necker. I just it kind of really shook up the meta.
Yeah,
But I had this bet. I don't know if you saw. I had this bet with Gabang from Team Elderblood
yeah,
that I could reach him in MMR. So for a week, I was tryharding and just playing all the meta decks, except for for monsters, where I was playing a Vampire Kelly deck
mm-hmm.
that I came up
Kelly.
with that was actually performing decently well.
Yeah.
But now that that's done, we're playing all the memes. So we were trying to make Death Wish with She Trolls and Vran Warriors work, just the destroy boost cards.
Yeah.
And then we also saw the deck that Magpie brought to a recent Russian tournament
Yeah.
with Kiki Queen.
Yeah.
So we were trying that last night. But yeah.
That's a nice mix. Yeah, there was a couple days you were off streaming, but then I saw you kind of coming back once again and streaming, right? It was like last like 2 days I saw you back once again.
Yeah. Just trying to come up with new fun things to play. Monsters is my favorite faction, so
Yeah.
there's been a lot of deck building there.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll get to that. I actually have one last thing, which is for the meme corner, one meme. Perfectly balanced as all things should be, and yeah, nice mirror match here, looking perfect. Yeah. So that's it for all the Twig related stuff. Moshcraft. How did you make it out to the Gwent scene? Like, what was your first introduction to Gwent? Where did you come from, and why Gwent?
Yeah, I actually don't even know, like, don't really remember how I first started playing Gwent. Other than I played The Witcher. I think there was like a Game of the Year sale,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on Humble Bundle or maybe on something like there was just a for The Witcher 3. And I like single player games that have a good story.
Yeah.
That's something I enjoy. It's very
Likewise.
relaxing. Yeah, and so I installed it, and I didn't even know, like, the game I bought had all the expansions, so I kind of came a little bit late to The Witcher 3. So I didn't really even know there was like 3 games. I just started playing it, and it was a ton of fun, and that's all I wanted to do every day after work for like 4 or 5 hours. I'd be playing The Witcher.
Nice.
And then there was this mini game in there called Gwent, and I never played a CCG or anything like that. It was just a fun game, and I used to joke with one of my friends who also played The Witcher 3 that The Witcher is the mini game and Gwent's the real game, because he liked it so much. And then
I know that one.
Yep. And I actually didn't even know that a standalone game came out until maybe I think I followed the CDPR channel on Twitch one day, and maybe like a Gwent Open showed up, and I was like, oh, there's a game. I guess I'll try it. Because my friends had tried to get me to play Hearthstone. They said I might like it, but I never, like, just looking at the graphics or whatever, it never appealed to me.
Yeah.
But Gwent did, and I was looking for something chill that I could just play, after hours. And as I've gotten older, like I used to play competitive RTS, and as I've gotten older, like I can't, like you sit at the computer for 8 hours. I don't want to sit there intensely microing units. I just want to chill and do something that doesn't require fast clicking. And Gwent was perfect for that.
Perfect. Yeah, if I could describe your streams in one word, it's very chill, right? Plus, you go on for quite long. Like they're quite long.
Yeah, I mean, I've always like had long gaming sessions, and for me, streaming is just like hanging out with people on Discord and playing video games. And now it's just with chat, so I can usually go 8 to 12 hours, as chat likes to be.
That's
but,
crazy.
Yeah.
I did once like 12-hour stream, and I remember that it was pretty exhausting. Like if you think about it, that's it's a lot of time, from your calendar. But yeah, I feel like also there's a lot of people that enjoy kind of this kind of like constant revenue of time when it comes to streaming. And if you have like a solid schedule, it's much better than if you're just popping in and out for an hour or two, which is what I normally do. But it's always hard to kind of fit it around like the schedules. That's at least the one that I have. But maybe it's a little bit now easier with working mainly from home, but still, yeah, it's quite the commitment. So yeah, when did you decide that it's like, because you said you played The Witcher 3, you had Gwent there, then you saw Gwent as a standalone. When was the kind of idea for you to move on and say like, okay, I want to stream this game and I actually want to do the whole Twitch thing, because that's always like an important step in everybody's growth.
It, yeah, I mean, it's kind of an accident, honestly. About, I don't know, it's been less than 3 months for sure. I like having Gwent streams in the background when I'm working, or when I'm playing Gwent. I just like having something in the background, whether it's Netflix or another Twitch stream. And I've been watching other streamers. And one day I was playing and there was no one on in the afternoon.
Yeah.
No English Gwent, and I was like, sure, I'll see if I can get my OBS to work from back in the day when I used to like just stream like Diablo or Warcraft for my friends who wanted to just see my screen, like 2 or 3 people who were watching.
Nice, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I started streaming, and then people kept showing up, and everybody was so supportive and helpful. People helped me. Like Baron, who's in the chat, he's like, "Here, let me just set you up with some bots," and people helped me with 7TV and all those things, and everybody was just like, they just jumped in, and they were like, "You got to stream," and they bullied me to turn on my camera. I'm a very private person. I've never like got on social media or anything.
Yeah.
All my profiles are private, but they were like, "No, we want to see," and then I turned it on, and like, all right, and we've just been going ever since, and people keep showing up. So
nice. It's good to hear that the Gwent community kind of helped you out in kind of in starting it off. I know Baron Griswold. He's super helpful and super well known within the community. So really awesome for him to help you out. So that is when you started, and of course you played Witcher 3 and finished Witcher 3, right? Or did you okay?
A few times.
A few times. Oh, nice. That's even better. Who was your favorite character in The Witcher 3?
Oh, probably Dijkstra.
Oh, nice. He always
with all his
into
shenanigans.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the behind the scenes aspect.
Yeah. Puppet master.
I like. Yeah, exactly. Just and which is why it's weird for me to be streaming, because like growing up, I was always like, I like the arts and everything, but I would be the guy helping with the production or backstage or whatever. I've never been the performer type, right? Because I like being able to prepare something beforehand and then presenting it.
Okay.
Whereas like people who are on stage performing or singing or doing other things, like I've never, I don't have those talents, but also I just never been comfortable doing that. So it's odd for me. But yeah, I like Dijkstra. I like people who are in the know and kind of stay in the shadows. That's my type.
He knows everybody. he is in the shadows. He has his own people pretty much pulling some of the strings, and he's like kind of telling them what to do, and they're kind of carrying out his secret agenda. That's what I always liked about him. Like he is the proper kind of like spy master, behind the scenes type of guy that controls everything in Novigrad and knows whatever is happening. Here also in Witcher 3, it's interesting dynamic, because you have all the crime syndicates, like you have the Crown Splitters and the rest of the gangs, and they kind of all need to like work with each other to some extent, and also they're also trying to fight for control of the city, which is interesting. And in the midst of it, you also have Dijkstra, who is kind of keeping tabs and an eye on everything. Dijkstra, I think one of the coolest characters. I feel like he's not always like super appreciated within the universe, but he's awesome in the books, and he's also awesome here in Witcher 3. Did you play Witcher 1 or Witcher 2, like the old ones?
I bought them, and there was a bundle, and I started playing Witcher 1 a little bit, and the controls were a little. Yeah, I mean, I like the graphics. I like the style. I like that Geralt was kind of skinny and wasn't this like hunk.
Yeah.
because it was like, hey, look at this, weird looking hero. That's
Yeah.
nice. And I'm told the story is great, but I never really got around to playing through it. I watched Red Rain play a bunch of Witcher
Yeah.
2, and that looked really fun with the siege and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been on my list. I've just never, I have a bunch of games on my list that I want
Yeah.
to play through.
I think even Witcher 2 right now, to play it, maybe it hasn't aged as much as Witcher 1. But yeah, like you said, Witcher 1 has interesting controls, but we need to take into account that the game came out quite some time ago, because I remember I was playing it like when I was 19 or something like that, and I'm 35 right now. But that's a
Oh
little bit of time
wow.
has kind of passed.
Oh god.
So yeah, it's not it's not the newest game. But the story, I think the story holds. That's kind of the strongest aspect of the Witcher games, at least for me. And yeah, I was also checking the voice actor for Dijkstra is Richard Hawley, and we also had him on the Dandelion Journey. So it was him and Dijkstra. It was Dandelion and Dijkstra, and for Richard Hawley doing the voice once again for Dijkstra. I remember when we were doing the trailer for that journey, like having him as the voice actor, he's just freaking amazing. And yeah, also Dijkstra has a specific way of talking, which is really cool. It's something that I enjoy. So yeah, so Witcher 3 done multiple times. When you moved on to Gwent, what was the meta at that time? What were the decks that you were kind of checking out in the beginning when you were just starting off?
Yeah, I think I tried Scoia'tael because my partner at the time liked the green boosty animation, and she was playing with me. And then I liked monsters because I don't know, they just seem to have the coolest art.
Yeah.
And when you're starting out, it kind of like makes sense to stick to one faction. And me, if I'm like an RTS background, you stick with one thing until you master it, then you move on to the next.
Okay.
And then I never felt like I mastered monsters, so I just kept playing them. But I mean, I wasn't a competitive player or anything. I was just playing for fun, and I liked Thrive. I liked, and then one day I watched Spiro playing vampires, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh wow, that's like completely different than how I've been playing it. And it was just neat, just seeing kind of the depth of the game. And I really kind of got into it because of streamers.
Mhm.
I watch them play and see the different decks they play. Then I go play the same deck and see how I can do with it. And that's kind of how I got more and more into it.
Okay. So from that point on, you've stuck to monsters, but pretty much you like to like also mix it up when it comes to like streaming and just playing the game. You like to go in between factions, right?
Yeah, so I took a break. I think so. I started playing maybe around the Merchants of Ophir
Mm-hmm.
expansion. So because I remember there was a lot of poison at the time, and then I remember the patch the Veil came out, and I
Mm-hmm.
remember when Scenarios got nerfed. Um, and then I took a break for a while, and then I think I came back a little bit after the relics. When She Who Knows and those cards were
Yeah.
added. So since around last fall winter is when I've been kind of when I came back. I started to play more semi seriously, like playing other factions and trying to learn all the different archetypes. And there's just so much to learn
Yeah, I
that
agree.
you just don't run out of things. I don't anyway.
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm learning new archetypes every time.
Yeah, I agree. I have the same thing, especially that when we do balance also on a monthly basis, like the meta tends to shift, and whenever we have also new cards, I feel like 1 month is different than the other. Like we've also seen kind of with the meta right now, like in the beginning, there was a lot of positive praise for like the new neutral cards and stuff like that. And with this month, everybody's like, "Oh no, Aaron died to Kecker." Like, "Oh no, I don't want to play against those things." So it kind of shifts. Plus, yeah, on a monthly basis, we're doing balance changes, and I feel like with some of the changes, they're so important that the meta tends to like totally shift, right? And after that, everybody's kind of catching up and trying to create like new stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's always very hard to predict. At least I find it very hard to predict how things are going to go. Because when the patch notes come out, I watch all the streamers go through them,
Yeah.
and people make predictions. And about half the predictions are right and half of them are wrong, which is like half is more than I would get right, obviously. But I tried to keep that in context when, like, 2 weeks later, everybody says, "Oh, this card is OP," and I say, "Yeah, 2 weeks ago nobody knew that." Like
Yeah.
people have to I figure out decks. Like for example, Spiros didn't think Priestess was going to be OP, and
Yeah.
then everybody now agrees it's really strong. So it's I think if there's anything with the meta, it's more that I think people expect things to get changed right away, and I think that maybe maybe the process of actually building and testing and releasing things takes a certain amount of time.
Oh
And
yeah.
so by the patches that come out, they probably got locked in a few weeks before that when these cards were just a week old, and it's probably too early to nerf them then. So
Yeah.
I would personally rather have an evolving game where the devs are trying stuff and pushing the boundaries and seeing what works, and sometimes it's too strong, than have something that's boring and stale and it's the same as last month. But that's my
Yeah, I
personal
agree.
preference.
I agree. I have the same feeling. I was also thinking about that. Even if we somehow even adjusted things and didn't do them on a monthly basis, maybe that would let kind of the meta that we have within the game maybe go to a different extent or shape itself in a different way, instead of just us doing things on a monthly basis kind of changes everything on a monthly basis, right? But if we did what for example, like other card games do, they sometimes don't change things for like 3 months, 4 months, sometimes even longer, and then after that they kind of come in and do balance changes. But with balance, the problem is like you need to always take into account the fact that you need some time to gather data, you need some time to gather like sentiment. Then you need to kind of like start implementing changes. Once you implement the changes, you actually have to test those changes and see them like against the current meta. Then you need to probably bounce them off some people, and also play test within a smaller group, a larger group. And then before that, and then after that, you need to kind of implement it and have it become, and go live into the final thing. Plus be, of course, QA tested and stuff like that. So the process itself is very long. I feel like the only exceptions where you kind of need to jump in and change things like instantly are things which are kind of game breaking. So let's say you have a game breaking bug within an interaction in the game or with a card or with an ability, then there's no point of waiting, because everybody just plays that to get free wins, which is just makes the whole thing unfair, right?
And I think it's always I've learned as I've gotten older to not assume that things are simple. I've learned, that
Yeah.
things are not as simple as you would first think. There's always a lot more to it, and especially with design, there are more constraints than people realize. You know, it might seem simple to tweak one knob, but things have ramifications, and there are other, you know, like there's lots of different types of players who play the game differently and enjoy different things, and the meta is different at different levels. And most people only experience, their experiences is
Yeah.
what they play against. So a lot of times, I get just yesterday I had someone jump into my chat and they were just saying, "Oh my God, Sahil is busted. I can't play anymore. I think I'm gonna quit." And I said, "Really? I haven't seen one in like I think I saw one today and then one 3 days ago, and I've been playing
Yeah.
a lot."
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we played some practice games and show them how we play Sahil and against Sahil, and I think that helps. People get an understanding of it's always the things you don't understand well that frustrate you the most, I think. But that's kind of the nature of card games, especially for newer players who don't have
Yeah.
all the cards. It's hard for them to experience the other side of it.
Yeah, you also need to figure out like what the counter is. As Sahil, the change is quite recent, so some players might not figure it out yet. Although, like I started, playing once again, and I also had pretty much problems with going against Sahil. But then I was kind of trying, just to think about it, how to go around it and figure it out, and it just, a little bit of trial and error pretty much got me there. And also that you mentioned like Sehol, we were talking about Sehol even today with the designers, and it's kind of one of the cards which we feel like could be performing a little bit better, which is actually not. It's not overperforming, which I thought would be the case, seeing like it being played quite a lot. but I feel like it's not the case. Interesting fact is also when we were looking at the play rates and win rates and stuff like that, that pretty much Erendite and also Golden Necker decks, there's less and less of them, which I think is just people trying different things and kind of moving away from those two cards. Or maybe they feel like they're kind of, they're branded already and they're like, oh, I shouldn't be playing that. I should be playing something else. So that was interesting.
It's always so hard to, I imagine, interpret the data too, right?
Yeah.
Because, like Priestess last patch at least was by far the strongest, but I didn't run into it much on the ladder.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of it was they were already above my MMR, or how much of it was people just got their score and they were done with NR, right?
Yeah.
So like stats like play rate or win rate can be really, I think, hard to take apart and drive conclusions off of. So that's why it, I'm sure it helps to have feedback from the community and also like just your own experiences to see what it's like, because my experience is different from most of the people that I hear give feedback. Like I've been saying from like day one of the patch that Seal is not that strong. I think maybe there are sometimes some cards that or some decks where they're very strong into certain matchups, and if you feel kind of helpless against them, especially a card like Sihil, where if you can't stop the first one or two pings, then it can just really snowball, and it doesn't feel good. Like you no longer feel like what you do matters. And I think those things, despite their win rate or strength, end up frustrating people more than, honestly, like me personally, I prefer playing against, for example, Priestess than I do against Mill, even though Priestess is much stronger. I feel like I get to play my deck, so I'm not as frustrated playing against it until the very end where they slam 50 points in 2 cards. But so that's just me though, right? Some people have different experiences, but I think that there are some subjective or hard to quantify elements to balance in terms of how it feels to play against a deck or a card that I personally have a hard time coming up with solutions for. When people ask, how do you think this should be changed or whatever? And I ask them, well, how do you think? And then I critique their change. And then they're like, well, that's how I get people to understand how much harder it is to design than it is to identify a problem, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to kind of like, something is, and I kind of agree with you that there are a couple like decks and sometimes archetypes that maybe when you're playing against them, if you actually let them snowball, playing against them becomes quite, unrewarding to some extent, right? And I have the same thing, like, for example, playing against Keltulis, right? If you don't stop it in its tracks, you will get to a point where it snowballs and goes crazy. And there's other examples. There's things like Sigvold also. And, I think every faction has something that if you don't stop it, then it will just, run you over. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And I think my advice always to everyone is to play the deck that frustrates you the most.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn its weakness.
Exactly.
So
yeah, everybody play against Mill, because a lot of people like always say that they complain about Mill, and especially it's something that is kind of prevalent in the community, especially on Reddit for quite some time, and also in the comments. But yeah, when everybody plays Mill, they kind of will instantly know how to go against it. So easy clap.
Yeah. Except for those like 1 out of 5 games where they draw all their key cards and it feels like nothing.
No.
But I guess that's sort of the nature of card games, right? If we wanted chess, we'd be playing chess.
Yeah, I have the same approach. Like, some people would want everything to be perfectly balanced, and I feel like if we ever achieved perfect balance and everything was predictable and easy, then we would pretty much end up as being chess, or as something that we had after the midwinter update, which is pretty much a boost and damage game pretty much. So there's no unique abilities with some crazy like interactions and possibilities. You're just pretty much having the same thing happen over and over, which is super predictable, which I think in the long run, if you want to play something predictable, it's not good. And this kind of also moves us into like a discussion that we could have here about, you know, RNG and stuff like that, because you mentioned Hearthstone in the beginning. Like it's a game that relies a lot on the random aspects, and I feel like we were somewhere in between there. Like we had a point where Gwent had a lot of randomness in it, especially in the midwinter update when we introduced Create for the first time. So that was a moment where everything was super random within the game, and I instantly saw that community wasn't happy about it and that players didn't enjoy it. And then I think we transitioned totally out of that to have maybe a little bit of randomness, have the create, you know, possibility, but kind of limit the pool of the cards that you're able to get from this RNG element.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, randomness doesn't bother me as much as agency.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it, you know, I spent a lot of time playing poker, so I'm used to, you know, you're gonna have good luck and bad luck. It's, you know, what makes you a better player is how you capitalize on good luck and how you mitigate bad luck, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna lose, but how much do you lose by? Of course, Gwent doesn't have betting, so that doesn't quite apply as much, but still,
Yeah.
like, what bothers me is, you know, in Gwent isn't always that something is random, but it's more that, like, if I don't feel like I have options or I have any, like, if I feel like there's something I could have done differently that game, I'm fine. I'm fine with
Yeah.
the loss. But when I feel like if I went to replay that game 5 times, I would lose all five. Like that's when I feel like something is wrong.
Yeah.
Because it feels frustrating. And you know, again, this is just my experience, right? Like I like to review my games. I like to think of like what was the optimal line. That's what I like. To me, Gwent is a puzzle and
Mm-hmm.
less of a, you know, a one-on-one battle, right? To me, this is like a puzzle, and there was a best way to play it with the most points, and I want to identify that. But if I've identified that and I'm still losing, then I'm then it's my deck. But then if I feel like if I, you know, change my deck, well, then I'll be worse against Self Wound or I'll be worse
Yeah.
against this, and that's where I think this, like, on the one hand you want variety and different, like really different ways of decks playing out. On the other hand, uh, you have to balance that with, well, what's this going to be like for people playing against it or having to tech against it on the ladder, right?
Yeah.
In tournaments and stuff, you know what you're running into, but on the ladder, you got to be prepared for everything.
Yeah.
And then you're going to lose, like, you know, 1 out of 10 games just because the other person had a Kahir and you don't have a counter for that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a little frustrating too.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of also something that draws us a little bit into the game. Like you don't know like what you're gonna get pretty much. It's like a box of chocolates, right? You never know what you're gonna get. Like you pretty much you queue in and you can expect more or less like what you're gonna face, but sometimes people like have some crazy versions of a deck, and also you know, you also have this like weird kind of tech options that they add to the deck, or like one of their favorite cards, for example. And this kind of, you know,
Random purple egg.
yeah, and this kind of like I did not expect that to happen, right? So it's totally interesting to see that and happen, which I also feel like is what makes the whole experience fun. So that was even better. Yeah, I just got news from Ryan who posted in chat that yeah, he just got a email from CD Projekt Red welcoming you to the Gwent Partner Program. So congratulations!
Oh my god! I was low key gonna send you a message after this because I sent an email to the partner program, and I didn't know if, you know, I followed the right process or anything. And somebody told me I need to tweet to Ryan. Thank you so much. Amazing. Yes, finally get the card back.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I'm done streaming. I'm retiring.
Ending on a high. I got the card back.
That's
See ya, suckers.
Yep. Got what I came for.
Yeah. Perfect. Do you have a particular favorite card in Gwent, or maybe within monsters? Is it your like favorite maybe archetype or whatever?
I have a lot of favorite cards.
Okay.
But my obsession currently is with Arrakis Queen. Because I like to break the game. I like to come up with, you know, ways to abuse cards that I think are broken. And Arrakis Queen lets you create a gold, you know, copy golds, and then Weavis lets you duplicate that, and Sabbath lets you bring it back. So I'm all about those shenanigans.
Okay.
They're not very competitive, but they could be really fun. And I like to cook up those decks for whenever, end of a stream or something, or a viewer game where somebody wants to do a friendly game and I can bully them on stream.
Steamroll through them with the Arcus Queen.
Yeah. But I unironically like cards like Calvite, where it's hard to strike the right balance, but when you do, it's got this trade-off where when does your opponent play it, right? Because once they do, both sides now know what the cards are in the deck. At least like when you're facing a typical Calvite deck, like now both sides now know all the cards, and so you can kind of counterplay into that, or you can bleed them or whatever, right? I think from a design perspective, that's a super interesting. Like I never would have come up with that. Or some of the things that have recently been done with neutrals, I just think they're kind of inspired in the way that
my utmost gratitude.
they just really shifted the deck building meta. Like for a while, it was all about highly polarized decks, a bunch of 13s and a bunch of 4s, and now it's a bunch of 9s and 8s and 7s, and the design team did that with changes to Golden Necker, and now Nova's viable.
Exactly.
And so honestly, like I think Golden Necker is my favorite card for having done that to the meta at the moment. And I know like that's not a popular opinion.
It's not a popular opinion.
No, but I'm as a deck builder, like I love what it has enabled and how much it's changed. And at the same time, like I totally like I'm not a top player, but like I've been in competitive gaming before, and I have an appreciation for what it takes and what's involved when both players are not making mistakes. So I totally sympathize with like people who say that Erendite decides the game for them or Blue Coin decides the game. But I think that the community tends to echo that a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Like that's true for Pieball. It's not true for me at 2400. Like for me, there's 30 points I could get by playing better. So just stop worrying about balance and focus on your own game.
I wish everybody had this mentality that you're talking about, because it's kind of but I feel like that I was even talking to I think Vlad about like yesterday about the fact that kind of the tweet from Pieball kind of started the whole like Erendite echo chamber of everybody saying that this is why, and everybody kind of jumped on that and kind of took those words as kind of their own and kind of started echoing them back and forth. And I feel like it kind of has slowed down a little bit right now. Yeah, but I enjoy also this approach. And you also mentioned you playing poker before. Are there any other card games that you played apart from GWENT and poker?
Just growing up, I loved card games and board games. My favorite game when I was little was Monopoly, but
the OG.
That's right. We played, spades, or I like bridge. I like poker. Lots of different kinds of poker. But I never played any collectible card games.
Oh, okay.
So GWENT was definitely the first for me, and I think even now, like I even tried to get into like just because Trinet was playing Storybook Brawl. I tried to watch it. Day9, one of my favorite streamers,
He's
plays
awesome.
a lot of Magic. And recently somebody taught me Magic, with the physical cards, and
Nice.
I played some games, and that was actually really cool because I gained an appreciation for sort of like where GWENT comes from in a lot of ways. You learn some terms like where they came from, like land and mana, and what do those things mean. But what I really like about GWENT is I look at a GWENT screen and I know who's winning.
Yeah.
Like there are points, there are like I understand you add up these numbers and you get that number, and then there's 3 rounds and you play 1 card per turn. And I don't know if that elegance kind of gets enough credit. And like as a person with a design background, like I love simplest, things that are elegant like that. And I think that GWENT could really be more popular. I feel it's a more approachable card game than some of the others for people who have not played CCGs. So
Yeah, if you play other CCGs, and like me, for example, I started with Magic. So whenever I played Gwent, it was, for me, it's just the experience is totally different. And I cannot compare to two games like with each other, like totally, because it's different. Like, you don't, there's not the aspect of going face. Like, we also have things kind of limited to units and special cards. Like, of course there are like artifacts also and stuff like that, but in MTG, you have enchantments, you have artifacts, you have units, instants, sorceries, all. So there's kind of a lot of things there, and also plus you need to be remembering about going face. The turn cycle is more complicated, so it's like you have end steps and combat phases and two main phases and stuff like that, in which you need to also take into account. And with Gwent, it's totally different. Everything, I think, is more linear, and it's much easier to get into. But I feel like also when it comes to actually getting into like the depths of the game, I feel there's a lot of complexity, because you need to be remembering about when things are triggering and also when things are kind of happening. Of course you have this in Magic, but here I feel like it's more transparent, like, at least for me in this case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So interesting that I thought there was going to be probably a little bit more CCG stuff there. But have you ever like collected any types of cards, like, I don't know, baseball cards or stuff like that, or nothing at all?
No, I mean, well, I used to collect CDs. When I was in high school, I used to just borrow all my friends like CD albums and rip them all to my computer and make playlists and make mix CDs.
Nice.
And
Respect.
at like a reunion, somebody gave me a CD that I made for them. And if you've seen the movie High Fidelity with John Cusack,
Yeah.
I was kind of like that. I would like build this like intricate story into the ordering of the tracks, and each track was about a memory we had.
That's
and like
awesome.
there would be like little hidden notes on the inside of the liner, and
that's like a time capsule in a way, right? Because if someone
really
comes back to you with that, and you play it once again, then like all the memories keep on coming back, but also you kind of see like all these songs are associated with something, right? And if you put it all together, it's perfect. I see you got the cat. What's the cat's name?
Yeah, Chad was asking for Derp, so he came by to make an appearance.
Beautiful. Yeah, he was kind of scratching stuff in the background, like a sofa
or
something.
He wants the closet door to be open because he's got a cat carrier in there that sometimes I hide treats in. So he was like, "Why is the door shut?" I was like, "I'm trying to look professional here on the street."
Yeah,
so I was like snapping my fingers at him, but you probably heard that.
Yeah, the background's freaking immaculate. I first, in the beginning, when I saw it, I was like, "Man, is that one of those like filters that they put like on Google Hangouts or something?"
Them having a green screen.
Yeah, is that like
the office?
Yeah, randomly generated background of an office.
Right.
Take it off Shutterstock.
Exactly. Before I came here, and I just want to make sure I don't forget, chat made me promise to bring up a few things.
Okay.
So we have a list of complaints and demands.
Okay.
And
I love it. Someone came prepared. Perfect.
Yes.
Let me hear it.
Number 1, animated tokens when?
Soon. I mean, they were in the works, but we kind of stopped because of all the new cards that we're doing. And looking like into those and making those animated, they have priority over the tokens. So tokens we like have some of them done, but not all of them. So it will take a little bit more time because it's something that we're kind of doing in between card drops.
But it's coming then.
Yeah, of course. It's not something that we abandoned and said, no, never, it's not going to come back. It's just something we teased. Maybe I teased it a little bit too early, kind of started leaking them out a little bit too early, because then at that time I thought we were going to like storm through them and get them out. But actually, based on like reassessing the things that are kind of in the pipeline and in line, they kind of like were pushed a little bit to the side for now, at least.
I see.
Okay. First one, out.
That's right. Handled.
Easy.
All right. Buff all neutral Regis when?
That's one I'm writing down. That's one I'm writing down for sure. Because that's one I haven't
Because there's that one that
like
kills does 4 damage and banishes a target, that never sees play.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's the one that drains that I thought would see play with the filter change, and I tried it, and unfortunately it's still doesn't feel very good. But that's a really fun card. It's like Censor without, the censor part.
Add it
But
to my list. Easy.
yeah, it's like a poor man's Ivar, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. He is a poor man's Ivar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When do monsters get buffs to the plant archetype?
Plant archetype. That sounds like Flake.
Yeah. Larry needs some friends.
And Larry needs some friends. Yeah, I know. Trust me, as a person that does a weekly podcast with Flake, I am fully aware about plant archetype needing a buff.
I'm gonna let Flake handle that one.
Yeah,
then.
so easy on that one. Plus, the standard rotation is something that Flake has been saying, and also a better draft mode. Yes, those are all on my list.
Because people, were asking me to play draft, and I had a channel point reward for playing draft, but I disabled it because I got tired of getting the same packages and like cards that don't, work well together sometimes, and it honestly got kind of boring. I love the randomness of like having to make cards on a deck on the fly based on stuff you get, but the packages kind of got a little repetitive for me. So I'm looking forward to see what you guys come up with.
Nice.
And then finally, something we've been talking about, I've talked to Shinmiri about, to Spiro about, and it became especially kind of apparent with the Golden Necker stuff, and it's been affecting me since I stream, and I'm a little slow, and I'm looking at chat sometimes. But what do you guys think about some sort of time bank system?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, there are some turns where I can make a move in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But some turns where, like, especially with Golden Necker and create cards, I often run out of time. Like if I don't have a plan, before the turn even starts and know exactly what I'm gonna do, I'd run out of time. And I think it would be really cool if we don't need like a chess clock or something, because that might be a little too anxiety inducing. But if we had like, 1 or 2 or 3 things per game where we could just use a time bank and add 60 seconds, and for this one turn only, like I just need extra time this one turn. I'm not AFK, like I'm here. I think something like that would make the game a little less stressful in those turns where you have to play like 6 cards in a row, because it's fun. Like I like those cards, but it also gets a little stressful when you're running out of time.
Yeah, this kind of is something that we were kind of looking into, but it was something that we were looking into in terms of like trying to make the game a little bit more faster, to play faster, because we already had problems when we had animations kind of tied to everything that was happening. So when we decoupled those two things, and the animations and kind of the things that you're doing are separate, we kind of could speed up some of the decisions that you were making. But this idea that you mentioned is a new one for sure, because I feel like if there was a possibility to actually have like a time bank, if you're playing quicker, then you're accumulating a little bit more time on the clock, you're able to kind of go back and actually use the clock a little bit later when there is a play that kind of requires multiple steps that you need to kind of think through. So
like if you watch televised poker, they have just to keep things moving, they have a time limit on each player who has to play their turn. But once or twice an hour or whatever, they can use a time bank where they say, I just need to think.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to hear about the animation stuff that still be, you guys are still working on that, making them faster or more responsive, because I think that will definitely make the game feel better.
Yeah.
But these Golden Necker turns, it's not so much the game engine or like the animations that are holding me back. It's I just need time to think, because I've got an artifact with a create. I've got a Imperial Diplomacy with a create. I've got to move something out of the opponent's graveyard to grab them, and there's just a lot of decisions to make. And sometimes one thing affects the other, and you can't plan them all in advance. So it's even if I could click faster in the game, I still would need a little more time.
Yeah, and I think kind of like what you mentioned here, Golden Necker is a good example, because sometimes it pulls cards that themselves have some choices within them that you need to like triple think before you actually play. Like whenever I was playing this card, I would sometimes, because I was looking at the timer, I'm like, oh man, I need to make these decisions quick because I'm about to rope out, and it will just automatically do them for me. So yeah, I actually like the idea of having the possibility of some time kind of flowing into like a bank that you can use on later. This was also something that always has been stressful for me whenever I played in Magic tournaments, because there you sometimes, if you're like considering every move in every turn, you have a judge coming to you if it's like a higher up tournament that kind of are saying like, okay, you need to be, you know, speeding things up. You can't go so slow. So I've been to those. So I wouldn't want to like rush people, but I also kind of feel like the problem that I had with some of the things in Gwent, especially before even we did the decoupling, was the fact that we looked at match time and we thought that it was a little bit too long, because it was like an average of 18 to 20 minutes, something like that, which I always thought that was a little bit too long in terms of like, because I feel like in card games, like same thing goes for like Magic as an example. Like you can play like a fast aggro deck, which playing and going turn by turn can go very quickly, smoothly. And if you feel like you're losing, you just forfeit and you move on to the next one. And a lot of people like games to be very tempo-y, but I also like to play control, for example. And control in Magic is kind of one of those archetypes that is very like, you get into like the longer rounds that you counter everything that your opponent is playing. And then from that on, you start building kind of your dominance. And you get into a point where you can pretty much, you know, be counterplaying whatever your opponent is trying to do. So those of course take longer, but what I kind of didn't like in the beginning, especially after Project Homecoming, was the fact that the games felt a little bit less dynamic. And I also feel like if you're having an esports tournament, that kind of takes away from the tournament, because people are like, oh my god, this is taking so long, and these games are so thought out, and some players just rope. And then we have Cams, for example, who just plays like card by card very quickly, right?
Yeah. What do you guys think is the ideal sort of game length, or what you're shooting for? 15 minutes or
15 minutes would be like the sweet spot. And I feel like it's one of those where kind of it's not too long and it's not you know, too short. But I also feel like Gwent is strategic to such an extent that you need a little bit more time to make some of the decisions. Or sometimes, like you said, with some cards like Necker, Golden Necker, you need kind of, you know, the time in order to go through like all the motions and kind of all the cards that are coming out from that card.
Yeah, I mean, I personally love the Battle Rush seasonal. Because
that was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little frustrated when the animations are the thing that's keeping me from playing the cards. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I could click it faster, but like, there's like 2 seconds each time I click, and sometimes you can't do what you need to do in Battle Rush. So, you know, I think if that gets improved a bit, that could be honestly a really, really fun mode. But I also think the actual time per turn could be shortened if we had a bank that we could use once or twice a game. Because then I'm okay with, like, I would be okay in almost having half the time per turn if I could 3 turns per game, like, add a minute to my turn. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the turns I can do in 5 seconds, but it's the other ones that I really need the time. Especially like, do I pass here, or, you know, like when I'm looking at their deck or their graveyard, what do they have? Those kind of situations, I think.
Those that
I
you
think
need
the
to
average
like
game
check
time
stuff.
could even be reduced if we had something like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I'll actually keep that one in mind, and also discuss it on one of the meetings that we have with the programmers and developers, because it's a good idea to actually have some type of time bank where you can kind of like store a little bit of time and then use it later on those kind of turns which are a little bit more tricky for you.
Awesome.
Nice. Is there anything on your list in terms of like?
No, that was the last one.
Nobody asked about buffing Puffco Gale. I mean, come on, community, come on.
Well, we just, I mean, we assume that there is a stronger version that's being kept under wraps.
I hope.
You know.
I hope for the design team's sake. I hope, because if not, then, you know, we won't be friends anymore.
That's right. It lets you play Erendite and Ring of Favor all in one turn.
Nice. Yeah, like instantly, one turn, 2 cards, easy. That would be very nice. That would be very nice. Although I heard through the grapevine that Erendite might be getting some tweaks with the upcoming update, so might be a little less stronger. But the question
Erendite
is,
buffs. Yes.
No.
Finally,
Nerfs.
You heard
nerfs.
it here first.
The question is if it will be actually to such an extent that it will make the card a little bit worse, or it will still be strong. But don't worry, we'll be recording most likely next week a developer update with me and Jean, and that will come out just before the patch. So I highly want to see like what people are going to think about it. There are a couple cool things coming with the update, so I'm just excited for that. There might be a return of some type of challenge into Gwent, which I think a lot of people are also waiting for. So yeah, but enough leaks from me. Circling back to you, Moshcraft, what are the next steps for you, or kind of like plans when it comes to Gwent? Do you plan to because you also, like everybody's saying, like you have a very, very nice voice. Did you ever think about, I don't know, maybe casting the game or something like that? Or
I would love to. I mean, I came up on esports. You know, like I was there on Ustream and Justin TV and like those MLGs in Dallas where it would always go out. You know, big StarCraft fan. So and I used to listen to Shoutcast back when that's what they were called.
Yeah.
I think I did like a mock cast with Gabain where we just like cast one of our own games, and I thought that was really fun. I was gonna cast the Creve League, but then sort of that match fell apart and had to get rescheduled, and they already had a caster. But no, I would love to. I think it would be a lot of fun. Because you know I'm too old now to be a competitor, but I could make fun of other people's plays.
Nice.
That would be fun.
Yeah, making fun of other people's plays is cool. When it comes to streaming space, any other plans, or are you just gonna keep on keeping on?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing some other games too. Like on the weekends, we've been playing Thronebreaker. I've started playing some of the other games that have been on my Steam list, because usually, like, ever since I was little, like I used to love, like, my brother would play games and I'd just sit next to him and watch him play, and I just like playing games with other people. So I have all these games. And now that I have a bit of a community that for some reason tolerates me, it makes it more fun to try. You know, I've been trying a tactical RPG called the Iron Oath. That was really fun. You know, I've been meaning to try Dune Spice Wars.
Yeah, same.
I haven't installed. I just haven't had a chance to load it up. I've been having too much fun with Gwent, honestly. But I think you know, it's the initial rush of excitement. But my streaming schedule will probably slow down. I don't see myself doing more than 3-4 hours a day moving forward. But we do have, like, our next sub goal is a cooking stream, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I'm gonna be wearing a floppy hat. So,
you good at cooking, or is it just something out of the blue that you want to do?
No, I mean, I cook from time to time. People tell me they like the food. So, but you know, I need a reason to do it. Like, I don't. When it's just me, I just make something simple. I'll eat whatever.
Yeah.
But if there's people over, I like making food, and I like.
Got to show off a little bit the skills, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. All right. If people want to follow you or kind of check out your streams, where should they go?
Yeah, twitch.tv/Moshcraft or twitter.com/Moshcraft. And more importantly, Derp has his own Instagram. So instagram.com/derp.craft. And you can find pictures of my cat there.
Derp.craft. Okay, I gotta write that down because I love.
Yeah, I'll link it in the chat.
Perfect. Because I need to check it out for sure. Awesome, Moshcraft. Thank you. We've run into an hour almost, which is incredible. That went by so quick. You're super fun to talk to. Hopefully, we can have you back on one of the other episodes. And yeah, thank you for taking the time and coming over to Twig.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
A pleasure, man. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for hanging out in the chat. And we will be back next week, as always. Bye.